Did you know that empty houses can lose up to 2% of their value per month whilst they're sat empty on the housing market? So I'm here today to tell you how you can sell your empty house fast in 2025, even in the current market conditions. Many property owners and estate agents for that matter struggle with selling empty properties because they're dealing with decreased values, they struggle to attract buyers, and you've got additional maintenance costs when the property's empty. And on top of that, you've got extra council tax, mortgage payments going up, extra home insurance when the house is empty. The pressure builds. What on earth do you do next? Many estate agents will just say, bang the house on the market, it'll get interest. That is not the case anymore. Attracting buyers is the biggest thing you need to do with your property, whether it's empty or occupied, but even more so when it's empty. So what we're going to do today is look at some strategies that you can use to get your house sold in 2025 if it's sat there with nobody in. Now, before we kick in to the strategies that we can use when selling empty property like this one here, I'm going to give you some statistics and information. There's some good news and there's some bad news. The good news is 40% more mortgage approvals have happened this year than at the same time last year. That means more people are wanting to buy a property and do things. The bad news is there is a lot more choice. We are at a 6-year high for property being on the market. If there's more supply than there is demand, then prices can come down. Now, the market is far from crashing, but you need to be very positive with your pricing and you need to do something that's going to attract those buyers. Let's have a look what we can do. Now, a lot of people will talk about property presentation, how to make it look nice, what you can do to really attract those buyers through the front door, but that's not always the case with empty property. It's not that easy. If it's been left in a bit of a state, maybe someone's passed away or they've gone into care and it's very, very dated, so you can't do all the improvements, you've not got the money to. It's maybe not always the best advice to just say, get it presented as best as you can. So the 3 strategies that we've got for selling on open market start right here. And number 1 is just selling on the open market. Now, what's that good for? That is good for houses that are in relatively decent condition. Maybe they've been tenanted before. We bring them to market as we would do normally, and we look to get as many viewings as possible in a short space of time. The best way to do that is with an offers over approach. So let's say we're dealing with a terraced house and the market average around there is, say, £200,000 for something in very, very good condition. What we might do, if we've got a house that's in good condition, is we might price that at offers over 175 or offers over 180 to drive interest really fast and get lots and lots of activity on that particular house over all of the other houses that are available in this market. In another market we might do something different, but in this market we do it that way to get interest quickly because the likelihood is there's going to be a lot more property for people to choose from, as I've just mentioned a few minutes ago. We then agree a sale and move through the solicitor process as normal. That is probably the best way to get the best price on something that is in good to very good condition. Now, the second strategy might work for something that is empty and needs a fair bit of internal work doing to the property, but is structurally sound. The good thing about those houses is they can be turned around relatively quickly, usually by investors, sometimes by people that want to live in them, but they can get a lot of interest quickly, again, if we get our pricing strategy right. So what we do with those houses is we bring them on the open market as normal, but what we do is we underprice them on the market, a bit like how an auction would work, but we have control over the process. Auction, hammer down, house is sold. The way we do it is we can do open day on the property. We price the property low to attract absolutely stacks of interest at the lower end of the market, say offers over 150 on something that we think might be worth closer to 200. You get a swarm of buyers come to the property. It filters out the ones that maybe do and don't want to do the work. Then we go best and final offers. Then we agree sale and we progress as normal. The drawback with doing this is if the house does need a bit more work than people anticipated and they have surveys done, then there is potential for the house to fall through. And that's not what we want. Now, finally, in my eyes, the very best strategy is strategy number 3. We sell at auction. So we either go through a traditional auction, which is where the property gets sold in the room on the day. To be fair, it's usually online now, but it's all done on one day. Buyers come in, they buy the property, they bid, exchange contract, deposit down, it's done. That's it. They can't back out. The downside of this is you probably do get a lower price than if we go on open market, but we have 100% security, or near as damn it, that transaction is not going to fall through. The modern method of auction is a slightly different way of doing things, where we probably get a bit of a better price, but we have to wait a little bit longer for the sale to go through. I'm not going to explain the ins and outs of both auction traditional and modern method of auction here, because that's another video for another time. So 3 strategies. Open market, normal sale for something that's in relatively good condition. Open market, open day sale for something that needs a fair bit of internal cosmetic work doing to it. Or auction process, that's strategy number 3, and that can be used for any of those types of property, predominantly stuff that need a lot of work doing. Maybe no central heating, maybe structural issues, maybe very dilapidated inside but structurally sound. That is what we would normally use an auction process for. So they're the 3 strategies. I've now got 3 tips for you if you're selling an empty property, what to do to get the very best price in the very best time. Tip number 1, as demonstrated beautifully by this empty home here, is to get it empty. Unless you are targeting the property at first-time buyers or people that are going to be living in the property, get it empty, especially if it needs any sort of work doing to it. This particular property has a few damp issues, some challenges with the flooring, and it looks like some electrical problems, and as you can see here, we've had a leak in the bathroom upstairs. So get it empty so people can see exactly what it is they're buying. Now the pricing's important, the presentation's important in terms of getting it empty, but also choosing who to work with is massively important. My advice would be to deal with somebody who deals with empty homes a lot, and maybe an agent that's not dealing with too many houses. They can be very, very labour intensive. Lots of viewings, lots of offers, lots going on. If the estate agent you're working with has got 200 houses on the market, where does yours sit in the sort of ladder of which one they are wanting to deal with? Do they want to deal with the nice 5, 6, 7, 800,000 pound house that's owned by Mr. and Mrs. Smith and they do all the viewings and it's well presented? Or do they want to be traipsing out to one that maybe needs a bit of work doing to it at 5 o'clock in December, where they've got to go and do the viewings and it's snowing and things like that? If you deal with an agent that's maybe not got those problems, they will be very motivated to help you get the very best price. Tip number 3 when selling empty property is to get all your paperwork right as soon as possible, because that means the solicitor process can start straight away or your auction process can start immediately, especially if you're not technically the owner. So if there's a probate or a power of attorney going on, then you need to get all that sorted, get all of your legal documentation in place with your estate agent and with your solicitor, all in readiness to make the process super fast. Bonus tip number 4, and I've banged on about this loads during this video, get your pricing right. The market is not easy at the minute as we enter 2025, but if you get your pricing right, you will be miles ahead of everybody else in that marketplace. So just to wrap up, remember, making your property as appealing as possible to the people that are in the marketplace at the time is the absolute key to selling empty property. Get a great understanding of the market and you'll be, like I say, miles ahead of everybody else that's out there. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please comment on what your thoughts are. If you're selling any empty property yourself, if you've sold one in the past, what worked for you? And if you want more property advice and property videos, please click subscribe. There's loads more to come.